Well, I think the simple answer to that question is yes. I've said for many years now that the energy situation in the US puts it in a huge advantage, and ultimately its capitalist system, its ability to some extent cleanse the banks and reform its property price market, have given it huge advantages. Combined with that, these companies in the US have spent many years now cutting costs, reorganizing themselves to become more efficient. And I'm very enheartened by the recent midterms where you've seen Republican majorities in the Congress and the Senate. And I don't want to get too political about it, but ultimately that means you're going to be heading into an era of smaller government, lower taxation and a better environment for corporates in general, which I think all bodes very well for an economy that has continued to grow beyond expectations and actually deliver those gains to the citizenry. And unemployment is, I think, as low as it's been for nearly 10 years. And that's phenomenal when you look at the situation in other global scenarios, particularly in mainland Europe. So I'm remaining very optimistic about the US. It has the fundamental engines that will drive its growth forward. And that's why I think you need to look positively on the economy for now and into next year. Certainly wouldn't be anywhere in mainland Europe. Maybe the UK, because I think that we've had some good structural change here and the economy is certainly powering ahead extremely well. The US is more difficult, I understand, because obviously we've had incredibly strong gains over the last 12 months and year to date. And it's hard to know whether or not you're going to squeeze a bit more toothpaste out of that tube. But we do actually like some of the Asian markets. So Taiwan, some of the Taiwanese companies are benefiting again because of weak input prices in the commodity side. That's a very interesting sector for us. It's been quite bombed out recently, so there's good value there. We quite like India, even though obviously it suffers from the same problem as some of those US stocks. It's run up very strongly since Modi's election, but again, good input price changes downwards are very important for countries like India, and political reform, even the whiff of political reform, is extremely positive for a country like India. And some other markets that have been a bit ignored, like Malaysia, are quite attractive. And even if we look at the markets where there's been political difficulties, like South Africa, the direction of travel for those firms that can leverage off the growth in Africa, based in South Africa, could be very attractive too. So there are lots of spots around the world that still offer a little bit of value, and in our emerging markets universe there are bits and pieces that we quite like. So going into 2015, I think that on a sort of granular level we're relatively optimistic, but still those big heavyweight problems remain: China, Europe slowdown, and what happens to rates in the US.